Good morning, everyone. We are going to be making some Christmas cookies together today. So we have one of my personal favorites. It is the peanut butter blossom. So it's the peanut butter cookie with the Hershey Kiss right in the middle. So what I've done today is I've kind of set everything up in my house so we can start cooking right away. So I'll show you over here. My oven is preheated. I have my pan all ready to go. And on this side of me, I took out all my ingredients and the mise en place bowls to go with them so that I can just start measuring right away. But of course, first and foremost, I need to wash my hands. Make sure I give them a good wash. And I treated myself this year to a little Christmas hand soap. Makes me feel a little festive in season, in the holiday mood. All right. So now that my hands are all washed and ready to go, I'm going to start measuring. And I'm also going to post the recipe online. So if you guys want to follow along with me, you're more than welcome to. All right, so I've read all of my directions. It says heat the oven to 375 degrees and remove wrappers from chocolates, which I've already done because that is a very tedious job. Next, we're going to beat shortening and peanut butter in a large bowl until well blended. Add a third cup of granulated sugar and brown sugar. Beat until fluffy. Add egg, milk, and vanilla. Beat well. Stir together flour, baking soda, and salt. Gradually beat in peanut butter mixture. Shape dough into 1-inch balls, rolling in granulated sugar. Place on an ungreased cookie sheet. Bake 8 to 10 minutes or until lightly browned. Immediately press a chocolate into center of each cookie. Cookie will crack around edges. Remove from cookie sheet to wire rack. Cool completely. So now that I read all of my directions, I kind of know what's going to be happening with each ingredient. So as I said, I already measured these out. So these are a check. I have my shortening. I have chosen to use butter. Shortening and butter are both a fat and interchangeable, and this is what I had in my house, so I wasn't going to go out and purchase some shortening as well. So this is all measured and ready to go. Let's see what else is on our list. All right, 3/4 cup Reese's Creamy Peanut Butter. So I don't have Reese's, but I have a nice little combination here of Jif and Skippy. So I don't think I have enough of my Jif. So I had my backup Skippy ready to go. So let's start measuring this out. And I, at my house, don't have a 3/4 cup of peanut butter. So what I did was I took this half cup and I'm also going to use this 1/4 cup to help me measure. And as you guys probably remember, when we are measuring things like peanut butter, it's not quite a solid, it's not quite a liquid. We actually do use the dry measuring cups. And as you can see, this is why, because it's so sticky, you want to pack it into the dry measuring cup. All right. I could probably get a little bit more out of this. Okay, there we go. And we're all done with my Jiffy. It is completely empty. Really took advantage of that Jif there. Now my Skippy, we only have a 1/4 cup to measure this. Love peanut butter, so I'm going to be a little generous with the peanut butter. All right, we are all set with our peanut butter. So one of the tough things about baking at home is that, like my house, we only have one set of dry measuring cups. We don't really have the drawer space to have two like we do at school. So sometimes you have to wash these in between measuring, which is probably what I'm going to have to end up doing today. But that's okay. We can give it a quick wash and it will be no problem. And in my house, I don't have dirty dish bins, but I put everything in the sink just to get it out of my way. And I also make sure that my sink is like clean and clear. So if I have to like go back and get another utensil out of it, I could just give it a quick wash and use it again. All right, I got a little peanut butter on my hands, so let's give it a little rinse. And then I'm gonna check out what is next on my ingredient list. All right, so we got our peanut butter, a 1/3 cup of granulated sugar. So here's my granulated sugar. And we've got my 1/3 cup. I'm also going to make sure I level it out. And remember, sugar you can scoop because it's not really going to get packed down. The only thing that you might get with sugar is like the clumps. You can kind of see here. So what I do when I see a clump is I just take the end of my measuring spoon and pound it down to break up the clump. All right, now I'm going to level this. So we have a perfect 1/3 of a cup. I'm also going to be trying to put my ingredients away as I use them because, again, I like keeping my cooking space like clean and clear, or else it gets chaotic. I hate when it gets crazy. Okay, now we have our light brown sugar, and this is also a 1/3 of a cup. And whenever you see light brown sugar or just brown sugar in general on a recipe, you can always assume that when you measure it, you have to pack it unless it notes otherwise. So always assume it's packed unless it says unpacked. So the way I like to do brown sugar is kind of mound it and then use the back of my spoon to push it down and pack it. You can see it's kind of like a sandcastle. Isn't that cool? Okay, let's put these to the side. We will probably need them again. My mise en place area is starting to shape up. You guys see it? All my measured ingredients over there. All right. Now we have an egg, which I have this little teeny tiny bowl here to crack into. So here I have my egg all measured out perfectly. Throw my egg away. 2 tablespoons of milk. So my milk is here. I have these little teeny tiny cups. This is actually for my daughter's food we usually put her food into, but for today it is going to be our mise en place bowl. And I have this measuring spoon that is 2 tablespoons itself. So I don't need to measure multiple. I could just do one of these guys because this is 2 tablespoons. And a big mistake a lot of kids make is they don't fill the measuring spoon up all the way. I think you guys can see the milk like wobbling at the top. So for some reason, kids like to only measure to like half the spoon length, which I'm not quite sure why. But that was a big problem in our sugar cookies with our vanilla extract. So when you measure liquid ingredients, you want that liquid to start forming a dome shape on the top. All right, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. So again, I have my little teeny tiny bowl right here and my vanilla extract. And I need my teaspoon measuring device. So I have a teaspoon here, so I'm just going to do 2 of these. 2 halves because it looks like my full teaspoon measuring spoon is MIA. So 1 and 2. And again, I'm filling it all the way up to the top. And now I have my full teaspoon. I'm going to rinse this right now because I know I'm going to need this afterwards. Later. Okay. Let's see what else. All right. 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. So this is when I'm going to have to rinse out my peanut butter measuring cup. So I want to point out to you guys that the reason I can just give this a little rinse after using the peanut butter is because peanut butter is a non-hazardous food. So if I had measured something like the raw egg into this, then I would definitely have to wash it out with soap and water and be super careful, make sure that I thoroughly clean it. But since peanut butter is a non-hazardous food, we can kind of give it a good rinse and a good wipe and make sure that no peanut butter is really going to get into the flour. All right, so we all had that reminder of how to correctly measure flour. That was another big mistake a lot of my high school friends were making, is we just took the measuring cup and we started scooping. And the reason we don't do that is because it could pack down the flour and you can actually end up using more flour than the recipe calls for. Did everyone see that? Oh, it always gets messy in my kitchen. That's okay. So I have my mound of flour and I'm going to level it off. All right. So that's 1 cup. Now I need a 1/2 cup. I'm going to do the same thing. Spoon it in so it's not getting packed down. So we still have nice, light, and fluffy cookies. It's not overly done with flour. Okay. In baking, measuring is what takes the most time. And that's why it's really nice to have your mise en place done, because you don't want to be mixing. You don't want to be mixing and trying to measure at the same time. You can end up over mixing stuff. You could end up just causing a big mess for yourself. So we want to be prepared when it comes to cooking. All right, let's wipe down this kitchen space. I puffed flour everywhere. Okay, so we're almost done measuring. We now have 1 teaspoon of baking soda. So again, I have my little 1/2 teaspoon here. I can't find my full, so this is just 2 halves make a whole. So I'm going to do 1, 2, and I'm making sure this is baking soda, not baking powder, right? 2 very different things. And next I have 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So this is a 1/2. Just gonna measure it out. And we want to be careful with the salt because you don't want salty cookies. The salt is really just to balance out the sweetness. And then the last ingredient, it actually says another third cup of sugar to roll your cookie dough in. So knowing that it's going to be used to roll, I don't want to use a teeny tiny measuring cup like this. I'm going to use something a little bigger so that I have space to roll the dough in. All right. And again, this is for rolling, so it doesn't have to be super precise. It's not like being measured and put into the batter. It's just used to roll, so you can add a little as you need. All right. So let's take a look at my mise en place. It is all measured and ready to go. All right, guys, so now that we are all cleaned up and all my mise en place is out and ready to go, we are going to again read all the directions and make sure we're hitting every single point in the order we're supposed to. So I read it around the first time just to get an idea of what we're going to be doing, and now I'm going to read it step by step while I'm actually mixing the ingredients to make sure it's all done correctly. So heat oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit and remove wrappers from chocolate. So check, the oven is heated and my wrappers are unwrapped. Beat shortening and peanut butter in a large bowl until well blended. So here I have my shortening. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in my KitchenAid with the paddle attachment, just like we did for the sugar cookies. So that's all set. Shortening and peanut butter. All right. Scraping out as much as I can. Actually, I'm just using the paddle attachment to wipe it all up. All right, so let's get mixing. Be helpful if I plugged in my KitchenAid first, huh? Okay, here we go. Let's see if I can get you guys a good view here. So I'm sure you can see it is actually mixing pretty quickly and pretty nicely. So I'm going to kick it up just a notch to see if it'll blend a little quicker. All right, now it says add a third cup of granulated sugar and brown sugar. So we are going to dump that in. And kick it up a notch. As you guys can see, it is all blended nicely. And I want to remind you guys, it's important to follow the directions. We don't just add all the ingredients at the same time. The reason we do the fats and the sugars together first is so that the sugars melt into the fats so that it's not all like granulated later when we end up baking it. All right, so we beat it until it's fluffy. Now I need to add my egg, milk, and vanilla. So here we go. Egg, my milk, and my vanilla. And we're gonna kick it up. Get it nice and blended. Wow, my mixture is looking really liquidy. So I'm gonna make it go a little higher. Try to get that peanut butter really well blended. All right, so it has smoothed out. It's not as liquidy anymore. I am going to take my spatula and just scrape the sides because I don't want any like thick peanut butter to be staying stuck to the sides. I want it to be incorporated into the whole thing so it's nice and blended. Oh, here's again coming loose. All right. Okay, So now I'm going to turn this off because it says stir together flour, baking soda, and salt and gradually beat into the peanut butter mixture. So this is important that we kind of infer based on what the directions say. So it didn't explicitly say, get a separate bowl and stir together. So I just know from reading this that I can't stir together the flour, baking soda, and salt in there. I have to do it in here first. So again, in the beginning of the year, we talked about how sometimes the directions aren't going to explicitly say, like, you need this. So you have to read the directions and infer what you need. All right, so I have my flour, baking soda, and salt well blended together. And now what I like to do is I'm going to turn this back on, lock it in place. And I use my little guard here. This is an awesome little feature. And because otherwise sometimes the flour kind of puffs out a little bit. And I use my spoon to slowly add it into the mixture. All right, and it's all coming together really well now. So I'll let you guys take a peek. And I'm going to kick it up just a little bit. All right. So now we are all finished blending our ingredients. And it says shape dough into 1-inch balls, roll in granulated sugar, and place on an ungreased cookie sheet. So you can see my dough is pretty sticky. I'm just going to get a little spoon. Scrape it off. And my dough is like nice and fluffy too. I love it. It's almost like a mousse. I don't know if anyone's had mousse, but that is what my batter feels like. All right, so here we go. I'm going to show you my setup here. I'm going to eyeball about 1 inch, and I'm just going to put it into my hand. And I'm going to roll it. This actually looks a little bit big, so I'm going to split a little bit off. All right. Roll in sugar and placed on a cookie sheet. So you guys can see I'm just rolling it in the sugar. And now I'm going to place on my cookie sheet over here. All right, so we are going to have you guys stay tuned. I'm not going to make you watch me roll every single one, but I will show you when I am finished, and then we'll take a look at how it comes out after baking. All right, friends, my cookie is rolled in the sugar and measured out into my cookie sheet. So now we're just gonna throw them into the oven, and we'll show you what we do once we take them out. Check the cookies. They've been in for 8 minutes. All right, they look a little golden brown, so I'm gonna go ahead and take them out. Okay, immediately press a chocolate into center of each cookie. Cookie will crack around edges, so let's see what happens. Ooh, they are cracking around the edges. I actually think I made these a little bit big. So I think if I did this again, I would make them smaller. But I do think they are baked perfectly. They're nice and like golden brown. When I push in each Hershey Kiss, it kind of makes this little like crunching noise. So I can tell that they're like really golden, crispy on the outside, and they feel kind of like ooey gooey on the inside. All right, they're looking good. Yeah, I definitely would make them a little smaller for the next batch. All right. Oh, and I can tell the cookies are so hot, they're starting to melt the chocolate. And we're going to put them on my drying rack. Cooling rack. I shouldn't say drying rack. Do these look good or what? All right, guys, we are all done. So I'm going to go ahead and make the next batch. But if you can answer the questions that go along with this video so you can get credit for today, that would be awesome. And we will see you all tomorrow. We're going to bake some other cookies tomorrow. All right, guys, we'll see you soon.